Hey everybody, welcome to TIW Podcast. I'm Eric, and today I watched WWE Monday Night Raw, episode 1399, which was broadcast on Monday, March 16th, 2020. It's 316 day. I've got my Steve Austin t-shirt on. This is the only Steve Austin shirt that I have currently, but it's this is a first for the podcast. I am broadcasting live on what's it called? What's that website called that you do? It's YouTube. Streaming live directly to YouTube. I think it doesn't seem to be showing up in the control deck interface or whatever, but that's okay because I'm also recording locally, so if it doesn't actually stream and save on there, that it's whatever. Okay, so I may reference. I'm not going to say. I'm not going to be referencing anything that you can see other than my what t-shirts. I haven't prepared any other graphics or whatever, but in the future I might do that. And actually I want to make this a little bit bigger. Let's see. So the audio listeners, you're not seeing that I'm making the graphic for the episode, the thumbnail for the episode, a lot bigger in front of me in the screen right here. But in the future, I'll put like drawings and charts and graphs and all kinds of other stuff, or probably just this every time. But stay tuned to see how the show evolves. Okay, yeah, this is not... It's not showing up in the YouTube dashboard. I don't know why. But that's okay. On with the show. I'll upload it later anyway as it is. And it'll be just fine, hopefully. All right. So this episode was weird because they moved it again. And for the foreseeable future, it seems like all of the episodes going forward are going to be broadcast and produced and broadcast from the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida. I almost said California for some reason. That was really weird. But they also announced today they officially canceled WrestleMania as it was scheduled. It will not take place in Tampa. It will not take place at Raymond James Stadium. It will instead be broadcast from the Performance Center. So that's going to be pretty weird, but I think there's some really good potential there for it to be really different, really interesting, really memorable. I'm seeing a lot of negativity online saying like when they weren't making the call to cancel it, there are a lot of people upset. Now it seems like just as many people are upset that they did cancel it. And I don't keep track of usernames or whatever. I don't know if it's all the same people. The general assumption is when the opposite reaction happens after something happens, that's the same people being hypocrites or whatever. But it's much more likely in a huge group of people, like on Reddit, it's the people who are vocal about the one thing are vocal when that's the problem, and the people who are vocal about the other thing are vocal when that becomes the problem. So that's more of a thing. But anyway, man, it's actually not showing up here on the YouTube in the YouTube control deck. That's a real bummer there. Excuse me. So if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, I've had chronic cough. It's been like plaguing me for like years now, off and on. And so don't be worried, at least not yet. It is not a symptom of a recent illness, I don't think. So I just want to apologize up front for coughing during broadcasts, which I will definitely, it will happen. But I'll try to suppress it or move away from the microphone to make that a little bit better. But anyway, okay, so this episode is entirely from the Performance Center, and almost half of it was a replay of the Royal Rumble match, the men's Royal Rumble match, which was really cool to rewatch. I didn't give my full focus to it the entire time. I just like came back and I was doing some other stuff and then came back and sat down when the big moments happened. Of course, when Brock Lesnar is eliminated by Drew McIntyre, when Edge returns and enters at number 21, I think it was, which is great. And then, of course, like the last 5 minutes of the match where it comes down to Roman Reigns, Edge, and Randy Orton. And even before, not Randy Orton, sorry. Or was it? Wait, no. Oh, crap. Who is it? The Drew McIntyre. Oh my gosh. Number 4 was Randy Orton, I think. So I was in the ballpark, and I was in the ballpark for that show, the actual ballpark. But anyway, I thought it was kind of funny that now that they made this announcement with the change to WrestleMania, that they are now looking back at the Royal Rumble, you see this gigantic screen that they display the WrestleMania logo on, and that's what Drew McIntyre points to. And I got to think, I'm pretty sure that screen by itself, just that screen, is bigger than the room that they're filming this episode of Raw in, and as such, the room that they will film WrestleMania in. So just that screen of the WrestleMania logo is bigger. I don't know if that's a solid fact, but it's got to be close to the same size of that actual room. I know the Performance Center itself is very big, but it has separate rooms, so it might be close. It might be close. Or maybe my estimate is way off. But anyway, we open up the show with an awesome promo from Edge, saying that Randy Orton is jealous and that Beth was actually there to retire Edge a second time, but Randy just couldn't let her finish. And now Edge is pissed, and he's challenging Randy Orton to a last man standing match, which was going to be awesome in a regular WrestleMania situation. But now, with no audience, there's all kinds of stuff that they're going to be able to do. There's about 1,000, there's not 1,000 chairs, but there's a whole bunch of chairs that they don't have to get people to stand up out of, to use all of them to smash each other's heads and such. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. That's going to be cool. Then we had Becky. We see her approach the Performance Center in a gigantic big last truck. It's all decorated in the man logo and last kicker on the back, and her face with fire coming off her, flowing across the side of it. It's so over the top. Really funny. And I'd say she's practicing social distancing from the ground when she's driving that truck. She's like at least 6 feet away from the ground. Anyway, after we see Becky arrive earlier in the day, we then see a replay of the Royal Rumble match. I already talked about that a little bit, so that's fine. Then after that, we have the AJ Styles and Undertaker contract signing. And I kind of wasn't paying attention because I figured, Undertaker's going to take a really long time to make his entrance. But then suddenly I hear commotion, and he's flipped over the table. I'm like, wait, what's going on? And I see him, he's wearing a bandana and not his usual hat. He's not wearing his coat and all that. And it cuts to commercial like 10 frames, a third of a second after I glance up to the screen to see what's going on. So I was confused, but when it comes back, they explain that he was mad the contract wasn't there. And AJ has the contract. He's in the back. He's with his boys, the OC, Carl and Luke, and he talks some trash to Undertaker. And, of course, he blames his wife again for bringing him back every WrestleMania season. And so he signs the contract, and he sends Luke and Carl. He asks one of them. He says no. Asks the other. He's like, no, I'm not going out there. So he sends them both to deliver this contract. So So they're like really reluctant to give it to him, and I felt like they're just trying to stay safe. They don't want to spread illness to the Undertaker. They're actually being nice in a way, but Undertaker does not feel like being treated nicely, and he teleports to behind them, 10 feet behind. I don't know if that was really necessary to get the jump on them. They seemed pretty. If he wanted to attack them without turning the lights off, it would have been pretty successful, I think. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I was just really confused at what happened before the commercial break because it was so quick. Then we had another awesome match between Rey Mysterio and Andrade. It was a non-title match, which is important because Rey Mysterio won. But the really notable thing about this match is that Asuka was on commentary for it, and it was pretty amazing. I don't know why she was on there on commentary. I thought maybe she would get involved with Zelina in some way. I don't know. But none of that happened. It was just her just yelling on commentary, and it was great. So let's have more of that, I guess. Just the most random stuff is the most enjoyable for me. Then we had Becky come out, and also as she was coming out, Tom Phillips mentioned that this was episode 1399. I thought that next week, being episode 1400, that would be a great opportunity for them to do some kind of really retrospective clip show, looking back on 1400 episodes. Well, looking back on 1399 episodes of Raw, but we're probably going to get mostly looking back at that at this week's episode. But yeah, so they're making us aware of it at least. So it could be a pretty cool episode next week. Becky says something about being a legend of an Irish woman, and that she's making Shayna's world a lie, and that the truth is gonna hit her like a truck, like that truck that she rode in on. She tied it all together. It was pretty good. And then we had Kevin backstage talking about how he wants to face Seth right here in the Performance Center. That's because it was announced that made the decision for him that it's where he started in the WWE, and that's where he wants to finish this at WrestleMania in the Performance Center. So there we go. That match will happen. Then we have the ending segment, which was pretty amazing. I thought it was just going to be, some noodling about Steve Austin 316 what and all that, and it was, but it had this extra element of superfan Byron Saxton just getting really into it. So Steve Austin comes out, he just declares that it's 316 day, and then that it's a national holiday. It's now a national holiday, and he asks, "Well, who wants to hear? Give me a hell yeah if you want to hear what it's all about." And then nothing. He says, "Well, give me a hell yeah if you want to hear what it's all about." And then we see Byron, "Hell yeah!" And it just cuts to him, just him, and he's yelling. He's getting so into it, and Steve Austin's reaction is like, "What?" And then he's like, "Okay, give me a hell yeah." He has a hell yeah again. And it's just so strange and hilarious. But then it gets even more strange because then Steve Austin goes through a bunch of note cards, which is like a Jeff Foxworthy style bit, like just joke after joke in this format. What is 316 day? And I didn't write down any of the jokes. I know one of them was that it's okay to use a 4-letter word or something. And then the other another one was your boss works for you. All that kind of stuff. But it really felt like, oh, you might be a redneck if blah, blah, blah. You might be a redneck if, like, that style of humor. So anyway, it was a little bit Stone Cold Steve Foxworthy there. But for some reason, it was like out of nowhere, Byron has these big rating cards, and he's rating the jokes as they go along. I don't know why there's no precedent set for that to be occurring on this episode at any other point, but it was really funny. And it ended up with Byron going into the ring to celebrate with Steve Austin. And he gets called a jackass and is hit with a stunner, and it's fantastic. And then Becky Lynch comes out, and Steve Austin's like, "Hey, I don't trust you. Last time you hit me with a stunner." And Becky says, "Oh, I respect 316 Day. It's fine." So they celebrate with the Skull Ranch Broken Skull. What is the name of the ranch? His beer. Celebrate with the beer, and then Steve notices that Byron is recovering, so of course he has to hit him with another stunner, which is just as hilarious as the first time he does it. So, yeah, that's it. That's it for this episode. That's really only like an hour and a half of original stuff, maybe even less than that, with commercials and with just replays of stuff that's happened in the past couple of weeks. But a lot of the new stuff that was in there, I was very entertained, so I'm pretty happy with this episode. I'm looking forward to see what happens next week, what happens the rest of this week on NXT and SmackDown, and I'm no longer going to go to Tampa to attend WrestleMania. Hopefully everybody who's planned to make that trip, all of the refunds and changes of travel plans and all that kind of stuff, I hope it goes smoothly for everybody as much as possible. But I mean, the advice I give is, like, be patient with it. Don't get upset. Try, if you're talking to customer service and stuff about all this kind of stuff. Like everybody is going through like crazy stuff right now. And I think the best thing we can do if we're looking to rectify stuff with a business is not to take it out on the people who work for the business, because at least if you're talking to somebody in customer service, they are fortunate enough to have a job currently, and if we can help to try to make their job not miserable, I think that would go a really long way, and also help keep ourselves more like calm, less stressed out, and all that kind of stuff, because that can only help as far as health goes, is to not have the increased stress, increased blood pressure, all that kind of stuff, get tension, headaches, and all the kind of stuff that comes with stress. And what is the thing in your when you have, I can't even remember what it's called. You take Tums for it usually. Ulcer, like all of this kind of stuff. We don't need to get all of that on top of possible other illnesses that we have less control over. So anyway, that really long-winded of my advice. Just be nice to the people who you talk to on the phone if you're calling to ask about getting refunds for stuff that has been canceled, because they've probably been yelled at by a ton of other people already today, and to talk to somebody who is being nice about it, being calm about it, it's going to improve their day, and hopefully it will also improve your own day. But if they're being a jerk, like if they're actually legitimately being a jerk, then just hang up and call again and talk to somebody else. That's a really easy solution to do it. Don't like create a feedback loop or whatever. So anyway, that's it. So happy 316 Day, everybody. I should have named this episode instead of the Royal Rumble replay, like it says right there. I should have named this episode the 316 Day or something, but I decided to stick with this. I named it. I made the graphic for it halfway through the episode. I didn't know it was going to be so great. I should have known that was going to be the best part of the show. So anyway, stay tuned for more streams. This stream is going directly to the TIW podcast YouTube, but I'll be streaming gaming and mainly just gaming. I think when I do my art streams, they're going to go to the Demon Jackal YouTube page, which hasn't been completely set up yet. But stay tuned for all this stuff here on TIWpodcast.com. or youtube.com/TIW podcast. I think it might be that. And yeah, how do I go? I said parts of my usual ending. And yeah, let me know what you thought about this episode by tweeting me at TIW Podcast. Go to TIWpodcast.com for more reviews. If you enjoyed this episode or anything else on the site, please share some links with your friends. Subscribe in iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, wherever you like to listen. Stay safe, healthy, and happy out there in all the infinite multiverses. And I'll see you next time here on TIW Podcast. Oh, I messed it up. There we go. Bye.